Hello and welcome back to DriveDriverDriven. I'm Humble and we're back in the garage again today. We're back on the Zero because it's got an oil leak and that's preventing me from really driving it. There's a couple problems, but we'll go over that. But since we got the motor back in, I've put some miles on it and I've noticed some drips under the engine bay. And doing some poking around, it looks like I may have damaged some of the oil lines when we pulled everything out and put it all back in. Now, I'd already pulled the lines out and tried to shorten them. Kind of difficult to see, but I'll spin the camera around and show you. So, one thing that I really like about 7s, but this GBS kit in particular, is the kind of ease of access to open up the engine bay. Yes, there's kind of these 4 quick release latches, 2 on each side, and they pop the bonnet off. But if you want to get the nose cone off, you have a bolt here on either side, and then there's one underneath. And conveniently, it's the same size as the 3 bolts that hold our intake filter on. So all I have to do is pull this really quick, and I can sort of tilt the nose forward and set it on the ground and get it out of our way. So yeah, all I have to do is just pull this bolt that I left in for this demonstration, and the whole nose sort of tilts down and forward. And we can leave it connected with the turn signals and just set it here in front of the car. But actually, I think I will just disconnect our turn signals. And then we can just pull the nose all the way out of the way. And there we go. And now we'll have a little bit easier time seeing the lines that we need to replace. So we have the lines back here. You can see where they go into the engine itself. That's where the oil filter would normally be. And then they come forward to right here where our oil filter is, and then continue on up under the nose up there, and they attach to our oil cooler. Now these lines, I've already tried to shorten once. I tried to take as little material out of it as I could to try and reseat the fittings, because I've already tried to repair this and I didn't have enough fresh meat on there, and even though the fittings are reusable, they're still leaking. So I'm going to replace the lines and the fittings with the same stuff that I used on the Ultima, which are these Fragola PTFE. These are all -10 in various 90s, and then one kind of more aggressive. I think this is a 100 degree or 120 degree fitting, which is needed. And then our line, which is here. So I have this kind of slick covered line, but I don't have enough to do the whole car. So I have something that looks similar to what's in the car already, which is this fabric covered PTFE line. So that's what we're going to use. So first things first, we need to get the lines out of the car, which is going to make a terrible mess. And I've already had to clean the car up twice, actually. So 3rd time's charm, we'll get those lines out, and then I'll take you through the process on making new PTFE lines. Of course, my mic died when I needed it for this short explainer, but here we go with a voiceover. I wanted to quickly overview some of the tools I use to put these hoses together. I've got them all laid out on the bench here, just the basics. I got my hose cutting pliers, a hammer, this dowel tool, which is used to spread the PTFE liner. It doesn't have any sharp points on it, so it's good for trying to round out the hose after you cut it. I've also got a couple of screwdrivers on the bench, and these are nice to separate the braid from the liner. In the case of these hoses, to help pull it away. Onto the actual fitting itself, this is a PTFE fitting. You have your main compression piece, your ferrule, which is used with that compression piece, and then the end fitting. And then as you can see on our hose, this is the result of cutting it with the cutters that I use. It crushes that inner sleeve. So we can use this dowel tool to kind of pry it back open, but not too far. This is just to kind of make it round again. But you don't want to open up too much yet, because you still need to get your outer compression sleeve over the end of the hose. Unfortunately, when I was demonstrating this, I got too far ahead of myself and I started pulling the braid open with this little screwdriver. Generally, you want to put the outer compression sleeve on first before you start pulling and separating this braid out. And there I finally realized my mistake, but we were able to get it over. The act of actually pulling the braid out, what you want to do is carefully insert like a small pick or a small screwdriver and pull the braid away from the PTFE, but you don't want to use the liner to press on. You don't want to use that for leverage, because it will puncture. You'll put a hole in it. So now with the compression sleeve over, we start pulling the outer braid away, and then this is the inner ferrule, and this sits between the outer braid and the inner PTFE liner. And this is what the outer compression fitting presses against when it's pulling against the fitting. You want to make sure that this inner ferrule seats nice and flush on the inside. There's a lip that the PTFE will rest against. And then you want to make sure that you don't have any braids sticking in the middle of it between the ferrule itself and the PTFE. You can see me wrestle with this a little bit. These are kind of a pain to seat. You can use the, again, the same tool that I used before to open up the braid, and then once that slides in, you'll know that the fitting will slide in just fine. Now when you're putting these hoses together, you have a dumb end and a smart end. The dumb end is just the first side that you put on the hose. You can immediately just attach that, that's not a problem. The smart end is the one you actually have to measure. So for my case here, all I'm doing is copying an existing hose so I can put the first end on without too much worry. I can measure out the second end just based on the hose that's already sitting on the table, and then put the second fitting on after cutting it to length. You can sort of see how I wrestle with these. It is pretty tough to get this all lined up and to get the braid seated just right. But again, once you get the dowel in there, the end of the fitting will fit, perfectly first time, and then you use the compression side to pull the fitting into place. All right, got all the hoses rebuilt, got them back in the car. So let me show you the old hoses here. So these are the ones that got replaced. The way this kind of was plumbed out was, this was out of the motor, into the oil filter, into the oil cooler, and then from the oil cooler back into the motor. This line, for the most part, seemed fine on both ends, but I figured might as well replace it while I'm replacing everything, just cut it to the chase. This one it was leaking on this end near the end of the fitting here, and on the oil cooler side, it was fine. Actually, both of these fittings for the oil cooler were dry as a bone, so no problems there. Both of these fittings, though, were wet, and I wasn't sure if one was leaking on the other or if both had problems. But even before I tried to fix, both had problems. So it could be that both the in and out of the oil filter just had issues. And I know that I think it was this hose got kinked and the end got pulled out, which is why I had to fix it in the first place. But it seems like both of these fittings had problems. And then this one was, it was weeping a little bit down either on this side in the corner or on the back side of the fitting here. But it wasn't terrible. So, but the fact that it was wet, I figured might as well just redo it. So these are the old hoses and their locations, and now onto the car. I've got everything put back together, and actually I just took it out for a quick little test drive, and I'm gonna let it sit and see if we have any oil drops. I did spot a couple, but the areas that had leaked previously were dry, so it could have been oil that I just didn't clean up well enough from when I was pulling the lines, or it could be oil that had leaked underneath the block that is finally dripping. Actually, I want to drive it tomorrow and just run it back and forth to work, get some miles on it, and see if those drips are persistent. I can already say that it's not just gushing oil like it was previously. So at least as far as the fittings are concerned, and just kind of a quick check with a paper towel tells me that the fittings in the back and the fittings on the oil filter and on the oil cooler, like all the fittings themselves are dry. So if there's a problem now, it would either be the adapters or the oil plate, or something in the oil filter mount or something like that. The issue is somewhere else. So at least the lines are addressed now. The other thing that I addressed, I can't remember if I mentioned or not, was that the car had been running lean, and I know I did mention earlier that that was because when I rebuilt the motor, I discovered that the timing was off just a little bit. So the way the timing works on these motors is it's all kind of loosey-goosey. So there's no keyed crank, there's no keyed sprockets on the cams. What you do is you lock the cams into place into top dead center with a special tool, and then you bring the number one cylinder up to usually top dead center on number one, and there's a little bolt that goes in on the side of the block over here, and the crank should butt up against that bolt, and you should be at top dead center, and then you tighten down all your timing gear. So then you tighten down your crank sprocket, and then you tighten down your cam sprockets, put your timing tensioner, your chain tensioners in place, all that stuff, and then the motor should be timed. But I put an aftermarket crank in, and it differed oh so slightly from the factory crank, in that the flat spot on the crank of the number one journal was slightly recessed. So you would crank the motor over, and instead of stopping at top dead center, it was actually about maybe 2 degrees past, just enough that the piston started to go down bore like 2 or 3 thousandths. Like not much, but it was already headed down bore. And just moving that little bit of timing, I think, gave us some issues that we found when we were tuning the motor last. Because this time I caught it. When I rebuilt the motor, I found that the timing was weird. So I set it, checked it, undid everything, set it a second time, checked it again. It was all good. And top dead center was top dead center. And as I've been driving it around, despite the oil issues, I've noticed that it's been running lean. Just slightly lean from where it was before. And it could be because it's ingesting more air now that the timing is fixed. And so I just took my laptop and just as a kind of a quick and dirty blanket test, I took the whole fuel injection map and I just fattened it 5%. So I know for a fact that's going to be too fat in some areas and still too lean in others, but just from a quick test drive, I can tell you that it's already a lot better. So now I know for sure that the map was just lean and that I have to get the car in for a retune. So once this oil issue is fixed, I want to get the Zero back down to Jay over at Black Tracks. We'll throw it back on the dyno and see what kind of power we pick up, because previously we were making 150 horsepower to the rear wheels, but we had these weird breathing problems. And I'm starting to wonder that instead of the cat, if that's what it was. And this time, well, obviously we don't have a cat in the way anymore, and we fixed our timing. So we'll see if we get some more power out of it. So nothing really too exciting today. It's all stuff that we've done before, but kind of a primer if you haven't done PTFE fittings. This should be kind of a quick and dirty walkthrough for you. We'll see if the oil issues are resolved. And again, we'll see if we can get the car on the dyno and get some more power out of it. But one more thing, I just got news earlier today that my MK chassis is going to be out for manufacture soon. So if you guys aren't watching the workshop walkthroughs for MK Sports and Kit Cars Direct, start watching those. They'll come up every Sunday, I believe, and you'll see Neil or Sean doing the walkthrough. And if you spot a certain yellow MK chassis in the background, or maybe even the foreground, that's going to be my chassis, so keep an eye open for it. That being said, I think that's going to do it for today. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.